For the first 10 minutes, we're not officially going, so let's look at a few news stories. This one is pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of research labs don't use antivirus. A lot of my labs, you have to attack a machine, and so you turn off the defenses to make it easier to attack the machine. But apparently, the cybersecurity lab at Georgia Tech, one of the leading tech schools, was not running antivirus on the machines for some reason, perhaps the same as mine. And they've now been sued and accused of fraud, saying they took military grants, and the military grants required them to obey military security standards, even apparently in the research lab, and they refused to install antivirus and other similar things, and therefore taking the military grant money while not living up to the military security standards amounted to fraud. So it's pretty extreme. We'll see what happens. I've often been trying to get military money at City College, but the college administration has blocked us from getting any grants at all. And of course, that does mean we have no money, but it also means we have no obligations to them. So there's a bright side to it as well as the obvious dark side. So Amazon sold these smart speakers, and as far as I can tell, smart speakers are just a complete flop. I don't know if anybody still uses them. I don't forget people ever used them. But anyway, they had a smart display that would show pictures. These things are quite a hit. I hear them advertised everywhere, these smart picture frames. But for some reason, Amazon charges you a monthly subscription fee to use it, and now they've decided to just brick it no matter what. So they're bricking the online service. This happened to so many Internet of Things devices. They had some portion of it that relied on a cloud service, and after a while they just turn off the cloud service and your device loses some or all of its functionality. So now, even if you bought this device, it's just going to show ads after the first couple of hours instead of showing the things. City College blocks us from getting grants because the administrators can't be bothered to do their part of the job. The administration is so dysfunctional, they cannot take on the additional obligation of overseeing a grant. I think that's the main point. But it's hard to say. It's very hard to understand why the City College administration does anything, because they're mostly just sort of scrambling around, stabbing each other in the back, walking off the job, getting fired. It's there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason to what they do. I think they're sort of desperate and running around lost. So Australia is going to have a national ID system. Now, this is something Barack Obama wanted to do. He wanted the U.S. government to be the depository of all your passwords. And the American companies rebelled on this and didn't want to do it at all. But apparently they want to do it in Australia, and it may come back here, especially if you have a Republican administration, because the point of this is they want to have a digital identity structure that can then verify, for example, your age. Now, a lot of people keep saying we need to age grade social media or pornography and make sure that all the people seeing these things are above a certain age. And then they say, how are you going to prove your age? So proposals, I think in Britain, they're having a private contractor that keeps a copy of your driver's license. And then that's probably a database that's going to get hacked. And why would you trust them? So in Australia, they want the government to do it. So they're going to make the Trust Exchange, which will supposedly take the hassle out of finding dozens of documents to prove who you are, and they'll handle all these verifications of things. So that sounds exciting. And we'll see what comes of that. So far, it hadn't gone very well, but people think it might be valuable if they get it working. I think it would be very difficult to get people to trust a thing like this in the United States. But we'll see if it works in Australia. So WhatsApp is now adding usernames. Until now, WhatsApp, like Signal, are encrypted message apps, but they identify you by your phone number. And that means anybody you communicate with has your phone number, and that kind of means that kind of lowers your anonymity, so they want to add the ability to use anonymous usernames. So that will make some people happier, I guess. CAPTCHAs, are these things you have to solve, like rearranging puzzle pieces or finding them in bicycles in a series of pictures or something. And the idea is that humans can do this, but computers can't. But that is manifestly false. And this one group here, Greasy Opal, has had a solver that's been available for people to use, for criminals to use, for 16 years. And it has AI of various kinds, and they update it constantly to solve all the CAPTCHAs. So, the idea that computers can't do this and people can is only approximately true. And so the United States' Cold War with China has increased to where we are seriously trying to block them getting access to modern chips, trying to hold back their development of AI. I think it's very misguided in many ways, among them that the AI is not really that powerful anyway. But there are simple ways around it, and so far the Chinese have been avoiding this by simply renting Amazon virtual machines that have access to modern AI chips and other cloud services. So it is kind of ridiculous, and they say Amazon complies with all applicable laws. So apparently it's not illegal for them to rent a cloud service using advanced chips. The sanction didn't include that. So, it's pretty much a boondoggle, and it seems to all be just sort of a sop thrown at racists in America so we can say we hate China, we did something to China. Although a lot of really serious military people say China is a huge threat and we really need to gear up for a real war with China, so I don't know, maybe so. I don't see how we can have a war with China. We're so interdependent on them, but supposedly we will see soon about that shooting war. So this is pretty incredible. There's a mosquito spread disease called Eastern equine encephalitis that kills half the people that get it. And by the way, the same thing is supposed to be true of the H5N1 bird flu that's spreading among our cows. Both of these diseases are supposed to be so dangerous that they kill half the people that get it. And remember, COVID only killed 1% of the people that get it. And you saw how we all panicked and ran around and shut the schools and everything over that one. If there was a disease that killed half the people, that would be incredible. And there's no cure, there's no treatment. So the town where this is spreading has just told people to hide indoors, away from the mosquitoes. So we'll see if that's enough. It's kind of unbelievable. And this one is kind of unbelievable too. Now, if you have a brain, you can learn to do things. And you can have an artificial neural net that simulates a brain and learns to do things. But this is just a tub of Jell-O. They have this hydrogel stuff that is essentially Jell-O. And what happens is when a current goes through it, it changes it so that it's more likely to have current go through there again. It changes the structure of the gelatinous material as currents go through it. So they were able to show that this could learn to play the game Pong. So it's a bizarre kind of artificial brain where you don't have any cells, you don't have any programming, you just have sort of a material that can be sort of deformed to learn something. It sort of reminds me of how you might have a plate and bend it to make grooves so water will tend to flow in a certain direction. It's a strange concept of artificial intelligence, but this tub of goo can do some degree of learning and therefore display some degree of intelligence. And like the other artificial intelligence systems that we've made, it does really force us to think more carefully, what is it we mean by intelligence? We probably need to develop this into a whole series of different kinds of intelligence and different degrees of intelligence to describe how intelligent these various objects are. So Peloton has decided that if you buy a used Peloton, they'll charge you a fee for using it. Even though you paid for the device, they're going to charge you just because it moved from one user to another. This is part of what Cory Doctorow calls the enshittification of the internet, which is certainly underway, where all these companies that 10 or 20 years ago had exciting products and offered good services are now being pressured by their desire to make more money into just robbing everybody right and left. VMware was bought by Broadcom, so they raised the price for their enterprise products by a factor of 10, saying that will hurt our customers, but we think most of our customers are so stuck on us it'd be too expensive for them to move to another solution so we can extract more money from them. And this is just happening all over the place. I know I'm now using Bing to search for things more and more often because Google has lowered the quality of their search engine results so much that I frequently can't find things I used to find there. It seems to be an inevitable facet of the marketplace that at a certain level of maturity, all the companies start cutting corners to squeeze every last dollar out of their customers and their suppliers and everybody. And we're definitely moving through that phase with high tech. And the COVID vaccine is here. The new COVID vaccine shots are available next week. So if you know people that are at high priority for this, like me, I'm old. Other people might have comorbidities. I'm planning to get one very quickly next week. You can get them at CVS and Walgreens. You can sign up and make an appointment and get them. So that's a thing to tell people who are like old or sick, therefore at high risk. So I think I'll stop this recording of the news.